Hi guys, and welcome to the video. If you're here, I believe you're looking for salvation. You want to either do your first tattoo or you've done tattoos before and the pain is just too excruciating perhaps, and you want something that might help you manage the pain. Is there a cream that can help you actually achieve this? Absolutely, yes there is. And this cream is called Emla, and it's a brand by Aspen, and it's got the little 5% sign there, which is the strength. Now, I found 5% worked really well for me, so I'm not even interested in finding out whether there's 10% or 15%. I'm not really interested in that. 5 worked really well for me, and so I'm gonna take you through the process of how to apply the cream. I'll let you know how long the effects actually last for, and then I'll put in just some tips for myself on how to get a tattoo, the preparation the day before, perhaps on the day itself, and so forth, just to make sure that your experience is really as good as possible from a pain perspective to actually getting a tattoo that looks really well, and how to prepare your skin, etc. So you'll note I've got one that I did here a very long time ago. I was much younger, and this was a really bad tattoo. Also had something over here that I actually got covered up. So I'm going to take you through my experience perhaps on my new one and give you some tips on why this was crap and this is so much better. So firstly, how to use the product. You're gonna need to shave your arm off before you actually apply the cream. Now the reason for this is just to optimize on your time, because your tattoo artist is going to need to shave off your arm anyway before they do the tattoo. So if you did it before, you're saving that time before you actually get to your artist to do this. Number 2, if you live by yourself and you're unable to have someone apply this cream for you, shave your arm, get to the parlor, ask your tattoo artist to apply the cream, or someone at the parlor to just help you apply the cream and wrap it up while you wait for your session to begin. So how it works, it needs at least an hour. There's some people that will tell you maybe apply and then within 20 minutes you should be okay. It's absolutely crap. Do not listen to that. You need to apply this cream for at least 1 hour, which is what exactly I did. But there is another part that I applied for a lot more than an hour, and that gave me much more numbness, if I can put it. But I'll explain the pros and cons of applying for more time than applying for exactly the recommended 60 minutes. So how I started off applying is that I did this part first, and then we did this, which was an error, and I'll explain why. So I applied over here on my forearm all around, and I wrapped it with cling wrap, and I did that by myself. So there was certain parts where I didn't seal the cling wrap really well, and therefore the cream kind of dried out more, like these areas here, round about the edges, and at the bottom as well, round about the edges, because of the air that was allowed to go through. I felt a little bit of pain through these areas. But again, if 10 was the most painful and 1 was the least painful, even though I felt something, it would have been maybe like a 2 or a 1 possibly even. It's like a little bit of irritation. If you imagine maybe having a beer cap scratched on you, it's more that kind of sensation, not necessarily pain, if I could put it that way. So what I did, I started off here, whereas if I was to do this again, I would have actually started off here. The reason for that is because this is the most painful part on your body. So you kind of want to work, when you do tattoos, you want to start off from the most painful to the least painful, so that even mentally your pain management, emotionally as well, like you are easing out of the session and not starting off at the least painful and then getting into the spaces that could cause you more anxiety in terms of the pain expectation. So I started off, I wrapped this up, did a 60 minutes on it, which is an hour of waiting for it to kick in. And when we finished, we took off the cling wrap, and we cleaned off the surface and started working on it. But before we started working, what I did was I had a fresh application here, which was its first run, because the other part I only did here going down. So before we started tattooing here, I made sure that I wrapped from here going up with a fresh batch of cream. But why I said you need to have someone help you is because you just want it to be sealed really tightly at the edges, and you want to make sure that you've covered enough area with cream. because what I did, because I did it by myself, round about these areas here towards the edges, I didn't apply enough cream, and I started feeling a little bit of pain again, maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most severe, again maybe around about a 3. So how long does this cream actually last for in terms of its effect? I found that about 2 to 3 hours was a great benchmark for how long it lasted during the session, which was enough to get me this whole part sorted out. And it was absolutely, like when I say absolutely, I mean absolutely pain-free. Then when I came up to the top here, what I noticed was, because this took about 2 to 3 hours, at some point I realized that, okay, maybe I'm leaving it to soak for too long. So I left it maybe for about an hour and 30 or 40 minutes just soaking in that wrap. And I removed it and cleaned it while he completed here. By the time he came and started working on this particular part, the effects wore out really quickly, because then it was already exposed. So what I would suggest is that maybe try break your tattoos up into sessions, where if you're going to be going in to do your forearm, like something as big as this, focus only on that, and then come back another day to start afresh on another surface area. That way you at least have a consistent, because now the time I'd removed it, instead of us starting to work already, the effects are wearing off in vain basically. And by the time it started working, there was no pain up until I started getting round about these areas here. I started feeling a sensation, and by the time we were really almost done, the pain had intensified quite a bit. So I would suggest, do not be greedy and try go all out and finish all your artwork at the same time. Try to make sure you just manage your time and make sure that you do piece by piece and have very lovely tattoos, because you give your artist a lot of time to work on the details. They're not rushing because the cream is actually wearing off. A safety tip that I took, or safety precautions I implemented and put in place for myself, was that I had Allergex and a non-aspirin anti-inflammatory. I'll explain now why. So in case my skin responded badly to this, which I'm a person who doesn't have allergies anyway, but I still had to make sure I took those precautions to make sure that if I have an allergic reaction, before I can get to the emergency room, at least I'd have administered Allergex and start managing those reactions. The anti-inflammatory I would have also taken, but it has to be non-aspirin based, because aspirin is a blood thinner. Now, if I got to the doctor's room and they wanted to maybe have a look at my swelling, or just to inspect what's happening to my skin, I didn't want the tattoo to be bleeding, because aspirin will thin your blood. So I also made sure that I had a non-aspirin based anti-inflammatory, which is what I would advise. Now, in terms of just basic tips on making tattoos come out really good and to prepare yourself for the tattoo itself, you kind of need some stamina to go through a session as brutal as this, just in case, they ask you to hold your arm this way, do this, bend over this way, and whatever. It's just a lot of energy that you use. So I'd advise you have a very good meal before you get into your session. It's going to help you with your stamina to go through that process, and you just need that energy. The other thing is, try avoiding things like coffee and anything that has got caffeine, because it kind of has a similar response to the aspirin part of things. So you do not want to be bleeding during the tattoo. Another reason why you don't want to bleed is because, remember, ink goes into your body. Now, if you're bleeding, it ejects that ink as well. So it's very good to not be in a state where you're bleeding, because you want to retain that ink and make sure your tattoo is nice, crisp, and dry, with a lot of, like, having absorbed a lot of ink. Your skin is a living thing, of course, and you also want it to be really well hydrated while you're going through your tattoo process. So make sure the night before or 2 days before you go into your session, make sure your water intake is really high. Just keep drinking as much water as possible, and the night before, make sure you bulk up on that water and make sure you've got a whole lot of water in your body. And during the whole tattoo process, make sure you're drinking water. Why? When your skin is hydrated, it absorbs ink better, it's much healthier, and even after the tattoo is done itself, you are able to have healthy skin that is able to well absorb the ink and make sure that your tattoo pops really well. That's another tip that I would give you. Other than that, I feel like after using this product is something that I can absolutely recommend to you guys. So I'll just recap a little bit on the means of application. Always remember, once you put the cream on, and get somebody to do that for you so that it's evenly applied, even in areas where you're not really able to see. But if you do not have an option, then just make sure you at least have a mirror where you could lift up your arm and view and see what you're doing. And when you wrap, once the wrap is done, I would still recommend maybe even try use like hair bands to just close off at the edges of your cling wrap to make sure that there isn't air going through. But in doing so, please just be careful that you're not constricting any veins or blood flow in doing that. So something really light that would just be able to close off those air inlets and make sure that the cream that you've applied remains moist and can be able to get absorbed. Another thing as well why the water is important is because, think about it, if the ink can be absorbed properly due to your skin being well hydrated, it means if 2 days before and the morning or night of doing your tattoo you've had a whole lot of water, imagine what happens when you do apply the numbing cream. It also helps with that absorption and make sure that you actually have a better working product on your skin. That was my experience with this, and I found that by the time we had done finishing this off, I was just so happy to watch. And when you're doing shading, you see all those needles going into you, like it heightens your anxiety. But for me, it was like such a beautiful thing because for once I actually watched my tattoo come to life without anxiety of pain. Like you just see the guy shade and he cleans it off, and he shades again and he cleans it off. You focus more on the beauty of what's happening here. We were listening to music and I couldn't even, like there was no time during this process that I was like really super ouchy. Like I say, towards the edges here, it did become a little bit sore, but that's because of the mistake that I made in terms of application. I did it myself instead of having someone do it for me. Another thing that might be a bit helpful in this process is that you want your tattoo artist, if you're going to do it at the parlor, of course get there early. These guys charge per hour and you don't want to really take him off his work. They also have to get paid. So what you want to do is like perhaps apply the stencils of the areas you're going to work, and then apply the cream while moving a bit further past where the tattoo is going to end, just to create a little bit of a safety net when you're working on. Another tip I can give you is that if, let's say for example, your tattoo is going to be maybe as big as mine is, okay, like all the way through, what you want to do is maybe choose to do this in 2 sessions. One, you're going to do in a form of just going through to do your line work and as much shading as you can do. As soon as you start feeling pain, just cancel the session, go home and let that part heal. Maybe give it about a week and then come back again, because what I've noticed is that when you apply this thing, it really numbs your skin, and I don't really know what the effects are to over numbing your skin over and over. So I would prefer to apply the cream, do as much as I can, give the skin time to recover from this numbing that you've had, and then apply again maybe a week or 2 later and come back and finish this. You don't want to, every time the effects kind of kick in, you want to like clean up your surface area, apply, wait for another hour and come back again. I just don't know what the effects of over numbing your skin like that would actually have. What I can guarantee as well is that once your skin is numb, it's got this little rubbery feel to it. So you might want to check with your tattoo artist as well, if they've had experience with numbing creams, whether they prefer that you come there numbed or not. Some tattoo artists do not like working on skin that's been numbed before because it feels different. There is other products I've heard that kind of make your skin have more like goosebumps on it almost throughout your whole process, or the pores open up really much, which in my case, the Aspen brand Emla did not have none of those effects. I did not have any opening up of pores. I did not have any, I refer to it as chicken skin. I didn't have none of that, so it was really good. But just consult with your tattoo artist and see what they're comfortable working on, and if it is that they're comfortable working on skin that has had numbing cream before applied, and you know, that's all good. So I hope this video gives you a lot more information than what you've been finding on the internet. Hope it eases your anxiety a little bit more, and good luck on getting your tattoo. But like I said, I'm gonna put a few images of the packaging, and as well I might want to include a little video where you'd actually see when I'm being tattooed on the inner parts, so that you can actually see my facial reaction and see that I wasn't feeling anything. It was a beautiful experience for me, and I hope by using this brand you're also going to have a tattoo that really looks amazing. Lastly, when I was doing this whole thing, I didn't tense up because I'm so relaxed and I'm not feeling any pain whatsoever. It made it such a pleasant experience even for the artist, because typically you kind of tensing, you're wasting time, it leaves room for errors and so forth. The man took his time, he went through, shaded everything really well, and he was happy, I was happy. So even in terms of just like the comfort levels while you're doing your tattoos, like I strongly, if you get Emla, you'll be in your best position ever. So just budget like 3 hours of the effects. After that, you're really going to start feeling a little bit, but again, it's probably going to be like on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most intense. You're probably going to be doing a 1 or 2, which is just very manageable, and it's almost like a tickle. I can feel some irritation happening there, like I said, like a little bottle cap running over you, but if anything, it feels a bit more like heat as opposed to pain. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's the best I can give you. Good luck with your tattoo. Good luck with getting the Emla. And you can get it from any of your local dispensaries. That makes it very easy because it's a reputable brand. It's by Aspen. It's not a prescribed medication as well. So you can just walk into any pharmacy and buy it over the counter. And good luck on your tattoo. Cheers. If,